Hello friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Danny and today I'm going to go through a book haul with you guys. I actually recently went to my Half Price Bookstore and had a really good, I had really good luck essentially as I was looking around, and I just kept adding books to my pile, which I think it's because I haven't been there in a while and so I haven't looked at the stock that they have. So there were a lot of good finds that I hadn't seen there before. So I was very excited about that. I do have some pre-orders mixed in with this along with some books that I bought from Barnes & Noble, but I'm really excited to add these to my shelves. I don't really have an order that I'm gonna go in because they're kind of just a hodgepodge of things. So we'll start with the books that I know the least about, but these were, like I said, on sale and I decided to go ahead and dive in. I've had the Expanse series recommended to me numerous times and lo and behold, I was talking to Margaret, the word nerd, right before my trip to Half Price Books, and these were on the front table right as I walked in, and I was like, well, I mean, it's a sign. It's telling me that I need to start. And so I did buy the first two books in the Expanse series. I don't know anything about this other than it's a sci-fi chunky series that I know a lot of people love, and so I am excited to get into it. This will probably be a venture for me in 2026. I probably won't start it this year because of my series goal, but I am excited to have these big chunky boys on my shelves. Next, I have a pre-order that I ordered, I don't remember when this came in, maybe in May? No, because it would have already been in a haul. I don't know, it came in recently, and that is the Maid and the Crocodile. I really need to add Raybearer and the second book, Redemptor, I think is the second book, to my collection as well, because this is a companion novel to that series. I dearly love this. I read this back in, it might have been one of my first books of the year. It was in January, and this still, like, my heart when I think about this book and how it made me feel. I love Jordan Ifueko's writing. It's absolutely lovely. If you haven't heard of The Maid and the Crocodile and you also haven't heard of Raybearer, I would recommend reading Raybearer first. You don't have to by any means, but there's going to be some contextual things, some world like politics that you're not really, you don't understand. You don't need to understand the main aspects of this story, but it does give you a little bit of context every once in a while when the main character mentions certain things going on in the world. So in this, you are following our main character whose name is Shadi, I think. I can't remember. I think it's Shadi. It's pronounced, or it's spelled S-A-D-E, but I think it's pronounced Shadi, but I could be wrong. And she is a maid. She has some mobility problems. Her foot has, I think she has a club foot. She's been injured since childhood and had mobility issues since childhood. And that gives her some strife whenever she is being a maid, and it's a very mobile job. And so she does have things that she kind of has to, trials and tribulations that she has to go through with her career, but she also she is considered a curse eater in this world. And what that means is people essentially either don't want you around because they think that you are cursed in a way, or they want you around because they want you to take their curses away. So either way, you're kind of seen as, you know, other. And she, being a curse eater, you actually do find out that she is legitimately a curse eater. She can take what's called, it's like dust or silt that comes off of people. It's magical, that contains curses and negative things. And she can actually consume that and get rid of those things for a time being. But she isn't treated very well. She runs into the Crocodile, which is a god of the world who is known for eating and making young girls disappear. And they interact. I don't want to tell you too much because it's been a minute since I've read it, so I don't know when everything is revealed in the story. But I just thought it was very sweet. It is a fantasy romance, and one that I think focuses on more than just the romance. To me, the romance is definitely prevalent, but I think that other things are more important and shine in this, and the romance is just a sweet little addition to it. So I really enjoyed this, and I can't wait to add more Jordan Ifueko to my shelves. The next book is a series continuation, but it's really just me continuing to gather the series for my shelves. A couple of book hauls ago, I told you guys that I grabbed 2 of the Invisible Library series. The first book in that series is one that I haven't been able to find at Half Price Books, and so I did end up buying this full price just because I would like to have the first book in the series. I am slowly gathering the others, and I'm not in a really big hurry, so I don't know that I will continue to buy them at full price, but this one ended up being front and center in one of the shelves that I was looking at Barnes & Noble, and I was like, okay, well, I'll go ahead and purchase this because I do really love the series. The Invisible Library series is a series that features a multiverse. You have a library that is connected to all these different dimensions, and it keeps them connected by protecting artifacts that are signifiers of that realm, so things that are unique to that realm. And you have librarians that keep it safe. And Irene, one of our main characters, is a librarian. Her assistant, Khaw, is learning things about the library. He's essentially her apprentice. And you learn about different chaos worlds. There's dragons and fairies and every single supernatural being that you can think of in the multiverse that she runs across. And I just think it's a lot of fun. There's mysteries in every book, and I've enjoyed kind of following along with Irene's antics. In the same light, as far as gathering series on my shelves, I am adding Black Powder War to my shelves. This is the 3rd book in the Tamriel series. Yeah. So the first book is His Majesty's Dragon, and I have now read His Majesty's Dragon and the 2nd book, which was Throne of Jade, which I really enjoyed, and so I do want to continue with the 3rd book, so I figured I would purchase it for my shelves so I have this to read along physically whenever I get to the audiobook, because I do like to immersively read these. If you haven't heard of His Majesty's Dragon, you are following 2 main characters, our dragon, whose name is Tamriel, and then the captain of a ship, whose name is eluding me at the moment. But in the first book, they are thrust upon each other. The dragon is in an egg, and the captain of this ship ends up taking over. You're in the middle of the war between England and France, and the English ship that our captain is on ends up taking over a French ship and takes a dragon egg on board, and it hatches on board. Well, you have to tame and harness a dragon very quickly after it's born, otherwise it becomes feral and it's never going to be useful to humans. And so the captain kind of has this responsibility thrust upon him, and you get to see Tamriel and this captain's relationship, how they deal with the politics of being involved in a military and in bigger things, and also just how they learn to be kind to one another, learn about one another, and live in this world that is harsher than both of them probably want. I think it's very sweet, and I can't wait to see what the 3rd book has in store for our characters. The next 2 books are ones that I saw at Half Price Books, and I just had to get them because I just recently read Bookshops and Bonedust and absolutely loved it, and I wanted these like classic covers as well for Legends and Lattes. I know the 3rd book is coming out, and I can't wait to add that one to my collection. This is just a cozy series for me, and I think it's one that I will enjoy coming back to. If you haven't heard of Legends and Lattes, you're following, so the first book is Legends and Lattes, but there's a prequel that follows the same orc character, which is Bookshops and Bonedust. And I think I liked, I don't know. I think I like Bookshops and Bonedust better, but both of them are excellent. In the first book, you're following an orc who hangs up her sword and decides to become a barista and open up a coffee shop. It's very cozy, but there are some things, some high stakes that are going on in the city that she sets up shop in. And then Bookshops and Bonedust, you're following her as a young orc who's kind of just starting in her life, and she ends up getting stuck in this town and having to help this, or not having to, but she ends up helping this person who owns a bookshop, and it's very sweet. I really enjoyed it. I also think that, well, I don't know, both of them really focus on the relationships. I think I enjoyed the overall story in this one better, whereas this one is more meandering, I think. Although both of them are they're both slow because they're both cozy, but I really enjoyed both of them. So I'm excited to have this in my collection to reread whenever I need a cozy vibe. The next book is one that I actually picked up because I just read another book by this author, and it just reminded me how much I love her writing, and that's the Stardust Grail. I recently read The Deep Sky, and that one, I did enjoy the story, but it just reminded me so much of how much I enjoyed the Stardust Grail, which was the first book that I picked up by this author, which is about a art thief, but an art thief for alien civilizations. And I want to reread this book so bad, but I do want to read it physically the next time I read it, because the first time I read it, it was on audio. There are so many really cool things that you learn about the alien culture within this storyline. I really appreciated. And as I said, The Deep Sky was more of a mystery, had certain thriller elements in the end, which is not, I'm not a thriller reader. The mystery was very fun, but when it had that brief little twinge of thriller in it, it kind of took me out of the story a little bit. This is more sci-fi mystery, which is more my vibe. So I'm very excited to have this in my collection, and I'm also planning on reading more by this author. Salt Crop came out this month, and I want to get to that within the next couple of months. Next is a book I don't really know anything about, but it's by an author that I've loved in the past that I have on my shelves, and it's not available at my library. And so when I saw it at Half Price Books, I thought it was a perfect opportunity for me to get Talonsister in my hands so I can read it. This is a duology too, and so it's a chunky little duology, and I'm excited about that. I don't have the second book yet because I want to read the first book and see how I feel about it, if I want to have both books on my shelves, but it's really the only way that I'm going to be able to read them, because as I said, my library doesn't have them. I don't know anything about it. I just know that I love the author. The cover is really nice. We'll see. I've heard really great things about it from a lot of people who have similar reading tastes than me, and so I do think that I'm going to enjoy it. Next is a book that I saw at Half Price Books right after I finished reading it, and I had such a fun time with it. And that's The Library at Hellebore. I've already talked to you guys about this book and the fact that it was on one of my top, I think it might have been my 5th top rated new release that I've read this year. I loved this, and at Half Price Books it had these blue sprayed edges as well, which I just think are gorgeous. I mean, the book in general is just very pretty. I love the color scheme, and underneath the dust jacket you have this foiling. It's very pretty. The book itself is absolutely ludicrous and just a crazy time, but I had a fun time. You're following a main character who is kidnapped and put into this school for bad creatures. So think antichrists, Ragnaroks, things that could destroy the universe. They're put in this university, and it's meant to make them normal. And on graduation day, they find out that there's something more nefarious going on campus, and you get to live with them through those events. There's never a dull moment in this. It's very gory, very descriptive. So I definitely would check trigger warnings if you're going to pick it up, but it's going to be fun for spooky season if you think these things sound interesting to you. Dark academia vibes for sure. I don't know that I would say it has the most well-defined plot, but like I said, I had a good time with it, so it's definitely one I'm interested in rereading to see if I can figure more out about what happens. Next is another Half Price Books find, and that is Tyranny of Faith. This is the second book in, I don't remember what the series is called, but Justice of Kings is the first series, and I really liked Justice of Kings. I was in the middle of reading Tyranny of Faith when I saw this, and it was super cheap, and I do want to collect the series, and this is a really nice hardback, and so I did go ahead and buy this. I need to buy the first one now because I don't want it to go out of print in hardback before I can get to it, because I would like to have them all in hardback if I can. Justice of Kings follows a main character whose name is Helena, and she is a clerk for a justice. And in this kingdom, it's kind of a dark fantasy world. You have 3 main factions of power. You have the justices, you have religion, and you have the emperor or king. I can't remember what they call him. And the justices in this set of stories that we learn from Helena's perspective are losing power slowly, and they have come from a great place of power, and they are being taken over by religion. And that isn't necessarily great for them, but also for some of the people in the Empire. And you get to see what happens within this kingdom as things kind of start to crumble. I also really love Helena's perspective because she's not like in the midst of all of it. She is, because she is the clerk to this justice, but she hasn't been in it for long. She's new to the game. She is an outsider. She was originally living on the streets. She didn't have any power, and she's kind of had this life thrust upon her, and she doesn't really know if she wants it. And so you get to live with her through all of those thoughts and her trying to figure out what she wants to do with her life if she cares about the fact that the justices are losing power. So I've had a lot of fun with it. It gets really dark in the second book. So I would say the first book touches in fantasy horror. This one definitely goes there, and I am hoping that the next book goes even further. So I'm excited to continue on with this chunky fantasy series. Love it. Love having a chunky fantasy series in my life. The last book on this book haul is one of my most anticipated releases this year, and that is the Society of Unknowable Objects. I am currently in the middle of reading this. I'm at 50%. And while I do not think that this will be my favorite book of the year, like The Book of Doors was, just by the same author, I do think that it's a fun fantasy mystery. So if you guys are looking for a fast-paced fantasy mystery featuring magical objects that are in our world, maybe this is one that you would want to pick up. We're following our main character, whose name is Magda, and her mother at the very beginning of the book dies in mysterious circumstances. She is inducted into the Society of Unknowable Objects, and their goal is to protect these magical objects. A magical object shows up in Hong Kong, I believe, and she has to travel to try and collect it and figure out what goes on, and some things happen in that journey with her trying to pick up this magical item. I think that one of the reasons this isn't my favorite a book, I mean, it's still in the 4-star range, so I don't want to give the impression that I'm not enjoying it, because I am. But like The Book of Doors, I was just absolutely enamored by. I think the relationships in this are slightly less sentimental to me. I think that I really had a connection with the main character from The Book of Doors because of the grief storyline that she had, and just kind of the fun of having The Book of Doors and loving travel. And there was a lot of romanticism, I think, in that book, whereas this one, you have not as much of that, and it's more, I don't know. I think I'm less connected to the characters in this. There is a quote unquote bad guy in this that we learn about, whose character I really don't enjoy. And I'm kind of hoping that I learn more about him that makes me not like him, but want to see him on page more often and maybe understand his character a little bit more, because currently I just think he's a bad guy, and that's about as far as it goes. But anyway, I'm excited to have another Gareth Brown in my collection. Good fantasy mystery if you guys are interested in a genre blend for this spooky season. So in this book haul, I had 12 books total. I have read 8 of them. So 8 of the books that I'm adding to my collection, I've either already read or with the Society of Unknowable Objects I'm in the middle of, and so I'm counting that in my read pile. And that means that 4 of them are books that I have not read yet. And so I am adding 4 books to my collection that I haven't read. One of those, though, is a series continuation, and so I'm not super worried about that. So really there's only 3 books that are, I guess, a gamble as I'm adding to my TBR, but I'm excited about all of them. I think I'm gonna really enjoy them, and I got a good deal on them, so why not? So those are the 12 books that I am adding to my collection. I'm definitely gonna have to do another reorganization of my shelves to put these where they belong. But in the meantime, if you guys have purchased any books recently that you're really excited about, I would love to hear about those in the comments down below. If you're not feeling chatty, but you still wanna let me know that you're here, leave me, the invisible library is in front of me, so leave me a stack of books so I know that you guys are with me. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a lovely evening, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!